Thanks so much for being here.
So I have a question. Does anybody know why you're here? I mean, it could be just like you needed a place to sit, right? So, we're gonna go through, basically, we presented this as stuff that works. So it's not theoretical stuff, it's stuff that we actually have working. Now, this is Philip Tirone. He runs a 720 Systems. He provides a number of products that I use. And back a ways, we started affiliating, and he was one of the only people in the country that I could talk to both about business and marketing creativity. So we got closer and closer and closer, and he's actually got a couple of products that he's starting to offer the public, which I started using in my law firm, and we'll talk about that. Philip has about 180, 200 bankruptcy clients. He doesn't do anything but focus on the consumer bankruptcy market. All right, so he's full-time doing this. He's very creative, he gets stuff done. We've used him now for a number of products. It really gives us, on par with other things, some of the cheapest leads that we can get in. We all want leads, but we want to pay as little as possible for leads that we hopefully will generate work out. Now, for me, marketing is just fun. And by fun, what I mean is, when I come up with something that works, I put it in place, and hopefully if the dollar is right on it, like it doesn't cost me too much, it's something I put in place, and then it works and works and works. I can be asleep and still working. In fact, I did a late night ad that I ran for 20-some years, and it was working while I was asleep.
John, let me introduce you. We have like a brother, father-son relationship. We're going to jam back and forth a little bit. So I'm going to jump in periodically when you start rambling.
Sure.
Let me tell you about John Orcutt for those that don't know who this guy is. He's been in the bankruptcy business for since 1985, right? He has over 2,500 reviews on Google for his practice.
5-star.
5-star. This guy thinks bankruptcy. He doesn't vary. He's extremely focused. He's helped over 70,000 families, actually
70,343 last count,
get free of their burden of debt. Okay, this guy has spoken about done a lot of bankruptcy work, thinks bankruptcy, sleeps bankruptcy, and loves bankruptcy. Right? This is why we're together, and frankly, we talk weekly, if not every week, at least every other week. We get on the phone and Zoom brainstorming ideas, and you're going to see things that are working right now that came out of our brainstorming ideas. So, and there's 3 objectives that we have for this session.
3 things we're offering.
3 things.
One of them is we're going to talk about Philip's products, and not just, we want to talk to you about why they're so important, okay? And the second thing is that I built a firm that pre-COVID, we were up and averaging 230 filings a month. I mean, I've handled everything you can imagine, marketing and running the firm and so on and so forth. And so for this entire conference, mostly I'm going to be out here at these couches, mostly because I'm not so much in the substantive end of things anymore. I run the firm, I do the marketing, I do the programming and things like that. But during this conference out here, if you have any question at all, and you want to ask somebody that's been there on it's your level or some different level or whatnot, you can ask me anything. You ask me about running the firm, you ask me about our marketing, I will tell you everything, okay? There won't be anything I'll hold back on any secrets that I know or whatnot. And the third thing is, not going to appeal to maybe many of you, maybe not any of you. My son and I, Shawn, who's sitting in the front row here, we're setting up an initiative to try and find 1 or 2 or 10 attorneys out there that are already fairly well established in terms of that the inner businessman is starting to come out. They started to build their practice, but want to take it to 100 filings a month or more. And we're offering to coach you, to take you there in probably a third the time that it took me. It took me 30 years, I can get you there in 10 years. That's of any interest to anybody. And we have a website that talks more about like what are the things involved.
So that's what the future bankruptcy tigers are, that you can see there, right? Now, and I want to tell you how this came about. We're on a mastermind call, and I was like, he was showing me something he does with his firm, and I was like, this is amazing. My gosh, like how many hours did it take you to generate this? He's like, years. I'm like, boy, John, people pay $3,000 a month for coaching for someone who doesn't even practice bankruptcy. This is like extremely helpful. You should offer something like that. That's how the genesis of that started. And then one last thing that I want to point out. If any of you love marketing like we do, the 720 booth is right out the door with the ferns and the couches, and we did that like that specifically. We're like, look, we don't want a table. We don't want to hawk our products. We want to create an environment where people can come and discuss things. And at every break, we have we're going to have marketing breakout sessions every break. The first one's going to be generating referrals and refiles from past clients. These are 15 minutes into every break. The second one, 3 ways to get clients filed. Third, marketing for new leads. And fourth, remarketing your dead and non-responsive leads. We're going to be holding these at that. We can bring chairs. We can make it happen.
Now, let me throw in something here. Marketing isn't just getting clients in the door. That's how we tend to think about it, and that's the way I practiced for 30-some years. Marketing is more than that. Marketing is also very, very much about, like you pay a lot of money to get somebody to call your firm. It could be hundreds of dollars. But if it's 50 or 100 or 150 or whatever it is, okay, if you don't also make sure that, in other words, follow up with them in ways to keep them engaged with you, then you're going to be in the position I was for so many years where I'd get a bunch of people come in, we'd cull through as many as we could, right, that were interested in us, and then I did no follow-up.
John, don't want to get that in a second too. You're jumping ahead.
All I'm saying is marketing is also not just to the people you're trying to get in the door, but to the people that you already have in the door.
Absolutely. And you're going to hear it. We got a proven system that works. And so let's jump in. Okay, advertising.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about the advertising that you're currently doing. You just took a big part of your TV ad budget off for the first time in 20-something years, 30 years, saving tens of thousands a month off TV, very small. What are you doing with advertising? And then we can talk about what we're doing with Facebook.
Well, first off, it was a really scary thing for me to jump off of TV. I still do a little bit of TV, but the only TV I do now is probably $5,000 a month or something, as opposed to $100,000 a month at one point, okay? And I was really scared about that because that was a big part of my branding and everything for years and years and years across the state of North Carolina. But what was happening is happening to all of you, and that is that everybody's attention is so scattered now between social media stuff and Prime Video and Netflix and Instagram and so on and so forth that TV has become something that just doesn't work anymore. And I got some great ads and stuff like that, but what I found when I got off of the major TV is that we had put some other stuff in place, and we're doing as well or better than we did on TV.
Excellent. And you're also doing pay-per-click, Google pay-per-click. You're doing Google LSA.
Right? Everybody knows what pay-per-click is, don't you? Is there anybody here that doesn't know what pay-per-click is?
Show your hand. Okay.
That's those ads in Google that you can click on, the ones that are the ones they pay for. And then there's the SEO stuff or the organic stuff, which I think it's just working.
So the LSA are at the top of the Google screen when you type in bankruptcy journey near me. I'll actually show that. Actually, let me just show this right here. So this, excuse me, you can see my Google screen right here. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Okay. This at the very top is LSA, right? See where it says Google screen? Can you see that? That's LSA. This right here these are local maps. We'll talk about that in a second. And these down here, are, so PPC are below the maps, which that, just to give you a high level concept. So you're doing LSA, PPC, what else?
We're doing the business listings and stuff like that.
Business listings.
The LSAs have been great for us. Do you know what that is? The LSA is something where you kind of, it's really a different kind of advertising that Google does. If you sign up with them and you get screened, okay, to some degree, then they kind of say Google screened or whatnot at the top, but it puts you at the top of the listings.
Yeah, there's 3.
Okay, and generally speaking, they put 3 out there, and because of something that a very close friend of mine suggested, since we had 6 offices, we actually applied for like 3 or 4 different offices. So there've been actually a time when we've got 2 out of 3 of them. But even if you're only one office, if you're not up on that stuff, you're just kind of giving away money. Now, this is different than the PPC, and I won't go into it very deep, but the PPC, you'll actually figure keywords and messages and stuff like that. The LSA doesn't work that way. Google figures out, whether to show you or not or whatnot. And so you really have no control over it except to pay them some money and get it. But for us, it's worked out real good. Some people have said they haven't gotten the ROI on it. It's worked out fine for us.
Well, the whole thing with LSA and PPC is because the competition is so intense, you need to be able to convert because you're paying so much. I mean, we have people who we talk to who are paying $125 per call. If you're not converting on the back end, you need that system set up. So let me share with you.
Let me mention one thing. One of the problems with PPC and LSA is you're competing with everybody else for those leads there. Those are the people that are actually looking for a bankruptcy attorney. Think about this. In the range of people getting ready to come to see you, there's a ripening process from I don't have a debt problem to I have a debt problem, but I don't know what to do. The next step is I know I have a debt problem, so I'm looking for more money, less expenses, a loan, things like that. And when as that stuff starts to not work, those people mature. I always call it ripening, like apples on an apple tree. They ripen more to get ready to be, to get ready to hear the word bankruptcy from somebody. I think probably most people at some point, somebody comes up and goes, have you given any thought to bankruptcy? And they haven't, and they don't want to do it, and so on and so forth. PPC and LSA can get you in front of the people that are actually searching for a bankruptcy attorney. My thought, I do that stuff, but my thought is to get to them before, I want to catch them earlier in the ripening process. Does that make sense? I want to be there when no other attorney is there. So we do some other stuff, and one of those things is Facebook, and that's one of the things that we're going to talk about right now.
Yeah, so this is, everyone got this handout when you came in, right? This is product number 1, okay? And what I'm about to show you, the concept of this idea is we have a follow-up system that we follow up with people to teach them about bankruptcy, right? So the concept is instead of paying $125, $150 a call, get the lead much, much cheaper, $35, $45. Follow up with them consistently. And how we follow up, we talked about 5 ways in the follow-up sequence, how to rebuild your life after bankruptcy. We've done a lot of testing on that. Use that, how to rebuild your life after bankruptcy. That's what people are clicking on. And I'm going to show you ads that are actually working in the marketplace today. So with John and I, we come up with all these ideas. And we come up with, as marketers, we always think this next idea is the idea. And it's the best idea, right? And we're woefully surprised many, many times when it's not. So let me just show you this right here.
Our bankruptcy was discharged in January of 2020. Took until September 2nd to get the divorce final. Just in that length of time, I was able to build my credit to the point of purchasing a camper without a cosigner in late September of 2020. Now, in January of 21, I was able to pay that camper off and get another loan for the bike of my dreams. I bought a Harley-Davidson Ultra Classic. I'd only dreamed about owning one, and then I finally got to live that dream. I was able to establish new credit with with credit cards, which I had to depend on for emergencies only. After going through 720 credit score, my credit score is eclipsed the 730 mark. I'm able to do more with my children, and I can't thank 720 credit score enough for helping me get to that point in my life.
Okay, so this is advertised under the name of the bankruptcy attorney, not 720 credit score. It's under the name of the bankruptcy attorney. What we're trying to do is take the shame away from bankruptcy. Guess what? Other people do it, and other people have their life afterwards. It's not the end of the world. You're not going to have a ball and chain for 10 years like people think, right?
It's the very thing you tell them in an interview and whatnot. You spend a lot of time trying to break through all the myths about bankruptcy and so on and so forth. We're trying to do it out on Facebook, and Philip's put a lot of time into learning the Facebook interface. It's an extremely complicated interface, and then has tried dozens, if not hundreds, of different things to see what strikes a chord. Facebook is the type of thing where you're throwing information out there, and it better be entertaining, it better be visually appealing, and you're hoping to get some people. But if you throw enough of it out there, he's been able to get enough leads in, some of whom make appointments right away. Others, they get into drip campaigns where he is feeding them information to warm them up to the prospect of bankruptcy and telling them all the things that everyone in this room knows, all the pros, all the things that we tell people all along. And it's just so obvious to us, and it's not obvious to them at all.
Yeah. Now, we will get more into the lead follow-up shortly, but I just want to get to number 2. Now, I just want to give you a perspective on numbers here. Last month, we generated 4,404 bankruptcy leads in I don't know how many states, but many states. This was the number 2 ad, 150,000 ad spend, attorney ad spend, to put it in perspective. We have a lot of data here, a lot of data.
After my bankruptcy and getting all of my debt wiped away, I cannot tell you how I felt. I felt so much peace. The weight was lifted off of my chest. I could take a breather, inhale, exhale. My mind was so much clearer, so much laser sharp. I could really map out my plan and what I wanted to do to complete my goals, 720 credit score set me up for success by giving me the tools I needed to rebuild my credit, which then allowed me to rebuild my life. I'm so grateful I filed bankruptcy. I got a fresh start, and my saying is, when you know better, you do better. My bankruptcy allowed me to take out a loan. I was able to pay for my attorney fees in between to start my own nonprofit organization and to also publish my book. I'm so grateful. There's no words to express how I feel right now.
Okay, now those are 2 videos. Now we test videos and static ads. So coincidentally, the third best producing ads are these ads. So we go through 720 credit score. We'll talk about that in a second. We've had 120,000 debtors go through our credit rebuilding process. We ask them, hey, share your success story. Submit your picture. We're going to use it in marketing. And we use these marketings all over. And it's real people. These are not Photoshopped. The one in the middle with the blue, obviously, she submitted in Photoshop. These are real people, real results through bankruptcy. We're hitting the people right between the eyes on bankruptcy. We're not hiding around like, you want to find out about your debt? You want to figure out how to stop clutching in your stomach? No. It's real people, real results through bankruptcy. And this last set, I'm only going to show 4 sets. This came out of one of our mastermind sessions or marketing sessions. John has a section of guarantees.
I've got 11 guarantees on my website. And some of these are going to be so friggin' obvious to you, but they're not obvious to the public. So let's just read what those
We analyze the entire financial situation for all our clients for free.
Guaranteed.
Number 2, the bankruptcy court accepts 100% of our filings.
Guaranteed. How many times, stop right here. How many times does the client turn to you and go, well, will the bankruptcy court accept my case? Right? It's not clear to them. Guaranteed.
Lastly, after filing bankruptcy, our clients' phones always stop ringing.
Why? 362 stay. So I guarantee it. And I don't take guarantees lightly, and the bars are real funny about it. But when I can guarantee stuff 100%, then you can turn it into something that works for people. Next one.
That's all. Well, that's all I have from the sampling. But John has 9 different guarantees. 11, excuse me. Let's keep it going. Okay, so that's advertising, right? important to get the leads in. But as John said in the very beginning, you got to get the leads in, then you got to follow up.
My entire career, I didn't follow up on them. And three and a half years ago, I decided I'm going to follow up. I was always trying to get my staff to follow up. But have you done that? Try to get your staff to follow up on them? Sometimes they do, sometimes I don't. And I thought, okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to continue to force and encourage them to follow up with people. But in case they don't, I'm going to backfill in behind them. So I took every stage of the case, starting with they made an appointment. I send them a confirmation email with a couple of SMS messages. They don't show for the appointment. I send them absolutely market-filled, my best stuff when they an email followed up by 2 years of SMS messages. They can shut me off. That's fine. I do the same thing on the bank when they cancel. Then okay, so let's say they do show up, all right, but they don't retain. That starts a whole campaign of things out there, because no matter how much we talk to them at an initial interview, you're not going to hit on all the questions and concerns and whatnot. I backfill in behind that by starting to send them information about bankruptcy and the pros and stuff, things that my staff didn't get into. All right, let's say they do. They get in, they retain. All right? When they retain, now I'm trying to encourage them to get their paperwork done, their money in, and I got all kinds. I have a whole other email drip campaign telling them things like, you're so close, don't stop now. Do they all go ahead? No. But a higher percentage of them now go ahead than before, because I'm in there encouraging them, telling them what a great decision they've made, telling them like it's only 3 to 10 hours of work. 3 to 10 hours of work, and we're going to get rid of $10, $20, $30, $50,000 worth of debt. And then I turned it, that particular one, I turned it into this question. If somebody offered you a job for $1,000 an hour, would you take it? What do you think the answer is? Yes. Okay, think about it. That 3 to 10 hours, let's say it takes a full 10 hours for the ones just not organized to get their stuff together, right? And let's say they're getting rid of $30,000 worth of debt. That's 10 hours to get rid of $30,000 of debt. That's $3,000 an hour if you can get that in their head. So that's just one of the many things that we present. Okay, so let's say couple more. Let's say they file, then I've got a thing saying, congratulations, your file, here's all your stuff. Then I do another, it's not a drip campaign, a 341 meeting, email with a couple of SMSs, and then if they get through their case and get discharged, okay, here's a time when most of us just drop them like a stone, right? We're done, okay? But those people are out there, and if we keep in touch with them and help them, so they're going to give you referrals. But not if they don't remember who you are, not if they never hear from you again. You may still get some. So I've got a campaign that's like 40 emails that I send out over a 2-year period afterwards. And I've made very sure that it's either congratulating them, building them up on what they've achieved, or giving them specific information about what they can do after bankruptcy to rebuild their life and what kind of things to follow. Last one is, if they get dismissed out of the case, then I send them a series of SMS messages to talk about refiling, and you've already filed the case, let's make sure you get the benefit of it. So those are the stages that we do stuff.
Ask clients in a little bit, in like 10 minutes, but let's go back to lead follow-up. The thing with lead follow-up, the reason why it has to follow under the tech, you have to have it automated, because it's impossible in bankruptcy. Like, the lead flow is too high. It's too high. You're talking, you get a 1 in 3 conversion on a cold lead. You cannot follow up effectively manually. That's why it doesn't work when you say, paralegal, do it. First of all, your paralegal doesn't like to do it. Like, no one really likes to get up on the phone and call. You have to do it in an automated way, so you have to do it that way. So I want to point out, product number 1 with the Facebook leads, the cost of $35 to $45 per lead includes the follow-up, but via email and SMS drip. And we set appointments. Can you see the screen now? No. You cannot? You can. Okay. So I just want to point out, this is Calendly, what the system we use for setting appointments. Okay? And I sorted it by, as you see, all teams. We've set over 50,000 appointments. See that right there? 50,000 appointments, 479 to be exact, for bankruptcy attorneys. Okay, what we do is we email them, the client. We set up an appointment to talk to.
After they've responded to
After
Facebook.
they respond, yeah. So what happens is, when the lead comes in, 35% of Facebook leads will set an appointment within the first 24 hours. The other ones, as John says, they need to be ripened. Like, we're jumping out of the bushes on them. They're not typing in bankruptcy attorney near me. We're jumping out of the bushes, and they're like, they know they have a debt problem. They're like, yeah, maybe I do have a problem. I should learn more. And they give us their name, email, and phone number. They give us the same name, email, and phone number that they give Facebook to sign up. That's the way it's coded with Facebook, right? As soon as they get a lead, it comes in, it automatically sends them a text. You just ask for information on Facebook, what's causing all the problems. All we want with an open answer, and if they text us back, we know we got them. Because people don't like to talk to other people about their problems. And we just say, keep telling us more, tell us more, tell us more. And then we say, let's set an appointment. That's how we've set these 50,000 things. This includes, product 1 includes follow-up and SMS text. Product 2 are for your old leads. Like, go back 2 years of people that have contacted you, that you just haven't filed. Maybe you paid for the leads. Cold leads. These are people you've never talked to, and you're thinking to yourself, I haven't talked to them in a year. Great, give them to us.
Think about this. It may be a cold lead, but if they got in touch with you in the first place, chances are they got in touch with you because they got more debts than they can pay. Does that just go away on its own? You have anybody, I mean, have you had anybody that like, well, I was in debt and then I woke up the next morning and they were gone? No. And what happens? The creditors don't give them a break. They're not going to give them a pass. They're going to keep at them. Those creditors are going to continue to ripen them by their collection activities. Do you want to make sure you're still in front of them to some degree? You're the pressure relief valve. That's what this email campaign is about. So I send him all my cold leads. He starts shooting them out texts and emails that are pertinent to that person in that situation.
And the
messages change depending upon the stage of the lead.
And we've tested this ad nauseum. We're not writing like lawyers, right? And what I mean by that, we're not defining what a Chapter 7 is and a Chapter 13. No, we're talking about this person that bought a home 2 years and 2 days after bankruptcy, or whatever, right? We're giving them what their future is going to look like after they file. That's what we're going to do. Now,
we're getting the opposite of what the creditors are giving them. Well, let's go back to product 1 again, because there's a couple of optional add-ons with product 1. He'll send out these emails, so on and so forth, but he offers 2 other follow-up things for the office where I'm set up to do the other stuff, but I got a big staff, okay? And there was something I started to do going into COVID that has really changed my firm. We actually, when somebody calls into us, we say to them right then and there, how would you like to speak to somebody right now? We no longer set them an appointment a day or 2 out. When are they the most interested they're ever going to be? It's on that phone call. Okay, I know that most of you can't do that. You may not have the staff to do it. All right, so through Philip, what he did is he took my whole model for doing it. I call it the short phone consult. It's not a complete consult. It's a warm-up consult. It's a build rapport concept. It's one that basically gets across the message with just a few facts. Like, that's the exact kind of problem we solve all day long. It's meant to warm them up for what we call the big phone consult. And we just call it big phone because 99 out of 100 people that we're dealing with now, we're dealing with them remotely, and I hope you're all starting to make that transition, or you're going to get left behind, because it's what the public is going to. So the first extra thing Philip said was, wait a minute, I've got attorneys I give the leads to, and they don't follow up on them.
Meaning they don't call at the appointed time. So we set the appointment on 2 o'clock, and they're busy, they miss it, or they're 5 minutes late, and all that stuff matters.
So he filled in, he took I have a white paper on the short phone consult that I did for my staff to explain the process and the whole thing. And he incorporated that in So it would be automatic for any and all of you. There's a little extra cost to it. What's the extra cost?
$50.
$50 for him to, and this isn't for lead, this is for him to do the short phone consult and to make that appointment, put it on your schedule. That's still a pretty cheap lead. That's already done the job that you either don't have the staff for or they won't do
Well,
it.
it's not even put on your schedule, we'll transfer it. Like,
No,
it's
that's right. This
we
one
will,
you
here you
transfer.
go, this is and you get this number, you're answering this call, right? And so
in addition, then he has a second add-on, if you want to go there. Well, he'll do like a half an hour consult with them, which is in much more detail. And what's that one cost?
it's $150, it's called the long form consult.
All right.
And come to the booth, Rich, can you raise your hand? He runs this through 3 pillars. He's done 5,000 intakes with he and his team. This is what they do.
Remember, this is all off of product number 1, the Facebook.
Yeah.
Now, on the cold leads, you do the same.
Cold leads will do the same exact thing.
Same type of thing as follow-up. So what they're doing is, he's doing a lot of the stuff that I do internally because I've got a bigger staff and I can segment it. But you don't have it, you can still get it done, and it just makes you so much more productive.
The gold mine people are sitting on because of their old leads is shocking. Now, the biggest thing we hear over and over, oh, I don't have it set up in a way that I can give it to you easy. Oh, it's hard because I gotta organize it. You hire a well-paid $20 an hour person, $25 an hour, it doesn't matter. And you gave them, here's files, go through it. It'll be the biggest ROI you have. Because I'll tell you something, people are not going other places and filing. I know that from our data. I know it. We're following up with all these leads. They're not saying, oh, I'm done, my debt. Very, very small percentage, typically 5 to 7%. Most people, they're debtors. They bury their head in the sand. They're in the situation because they just put things off. And we got to give them that space, okay? So, John, let's go to the next segment. Okay, one thing about John Orcutt, which really, when we really started working together, and I noticed this about you, you think about your past clients much more than a traditional bankruptcy attorney. Most traditional bankruptcy attorneys, and I'm not saying the people in the room, but a lot of our clients, they're like, oh, it's a past client, they're not going to file it. And that's the mindset. It's like, oh, we don't get repeat business in the bankruptcy business. You know what I mean? Have you heard people say that before, right? John doesn't think like that. John's like, oh man, 720 credit score. I love it. I want to give it to all my clients, and I want to do this for them for free, and I want to do this for them for free.
It bugged the hell out of me. There's 2 things that bugged the hell out of me over the years, and I've got one solved, and I've just hired an attorney to help solve the other one. And the one was, I do their bankruptcy and drop them like a stone. I didn't really drop them, but it had to, they didn't expect anything more. But they're sitting there with trying to reestablish credit, they don't know what to do, where to start. So I did up all these emails out to my discharge clients. Underneath it all, I love to help them. It makes me feel better, like I'm providing better service. But without a doubt, in my mind, is wanting to get future referrals. If not from them, everybody out there that's filed a bankruptcy is like a person with a little bullhorn that could be mentioning your name if you're doing something for them to make them feel better or work better in their situation. So I just thought, this is crazy, I'm not doing this. And that was one of the first email campaigns I started to finally write after 30 years.
Yeah, and so product 3 is a program that I came up with years ago when I was a mortgage broker. And I went into a bank and I deposited a check, and the lady said, you're overdrawn in your checking account. And I'm like, oh, I am? She's like, yeah, you're gonna have to, why don't you get overdraft protection so you never have to pay the fee? And I was like, sure. This was 1997. And she said, we're gonna have to run your credit. I was like, sure. I'm like, sure, run my credit, I have good credit. And she came back, she ran it in real time. She's like, I'm sorry, Ms. Tirone, you've been denied. Your credit's too bad. And I'm like, embarrassed. And I ran it right to my mortgage company. I ran my own credit, like a 630 credit score at some collection. And I hired a credit repair company. They used to come in the office all the time. And then I get a letter from TransUnion saying your credit score has been locked due to fraudulent activity. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And they said, well, you sent in this letter from Incredible Universe, that was the collection company. And the credit repair company printed up a letter saying that this was an error and sent it in on my behalf. And I was like, well, that's not my signature. I hired a credit repair guy. I knew nothing about it. And they unfroze my credit report. And that's when I said, I got to help my mortgage clients in a way rebuild their credit. And I came up with this program, 7 Steps for 720 Credit Score. And it's simple. Credit scoring, rebuilding your credit score is easy. It's as simple as rebuilding around the bad credit. Now, credit repair is different. Oh, we got to get everything off your credit. They dispute everything. It's got to be clean. No. We have people going enrolled. We've had 120,000 debtors enrolled for our program over the past 10 years from bankruptcy attorneys, our clients. And basically, it's simple, right? Someone comes in, and number one, we got to get the errors off the credit report. That's number one, right? And what we do for that, add-on number one right here, free review of the credit report. Kyle, can you raise your hand? Schumacher Lane, we call it Powered by Schumacher Lane. Kyle and his firm review all our credit reports for free, right? And if errors are found, certified letters are sent out on their behalf with no cost to the client, no cost to the attorney. And in 45 days, Kyle's office finds the client or reruns the credit report for the client. And if the errors are fixed, great. They're fixed 92% of the time. But if they're not fixed, that's where his firm steps in. And depending on volume, there's fee sharing opportunities, et cetera, et cetera.
Because he's doing the FCRA stuff, that kind of thing, right? So that's how he gets paid, so that Philip's clients, my clients, get a free credit repair, a credit review after bankruptcy. How cool is that? What could be more important to somebody who's coming out of bankruptcy than to not have a bunch of crap on their credit report? They got rid of the debt, some that may still be showing up on there.
And so that's the first step of rebuilding a credit score. After that, you need to get 3 credit cards. Not 1, not 2, not 4, 3 credit cards. People, after bankruptcy, are not getting the best credit cards. And a lot of them say, we hear this all the time via our support desk or via our live question and answer sessions. They're like, well, I don't want to get this credit card because it's $79 a year. I'm like, don't worry, you're going to have it for a year, 2 years max. Okay? That's the second step. The third step, they need some type of installment loan where a payment is being reported, a same payment for a set period of time. If you do those 3 things, let me tell you, any of your debtors can have a 720 credit score we in 12 to 24 months, right? I mean, it happens over and over and over.
And that's in addition to the fact that by filing them into bankruptcy, remember they came in with more debts than they could pay. Hopefully if we do our job, we get rid of enough debt that they can get back to paying the rest of their debts on time. Because paying your debts on time is like critical. I mean, how many of you is there anybody in the room here hasn't answered the question like, for how long will the bankruptcy hurt my credit? Well, we all know the bankruptcy isn't hurting your credit. Not paying your bills is what hurts your credit, right? And every month you pay a bill late that's one that reports, you're killing your own credit. So the greatest thing about bankruptcy leading up to this is you're getting rid of the debts they can't afford to pay, and so they can get back to paying that car payment on time, things that are also reporting. So it's a kind of with that stuff adds on to it, but just getting rid of the debts is a self-sealing process to some degree. Hopefully you're presenting that to clients. It's one of the greatest things we have to offer them about credit, because everybody's got it in mind like, oh, bankruptcy is going to kill my credit. No, it's dead or you wouldn't be here.
Well, and this is a huge competitive advantage for you. Because maybe you haven't, but I, as a marketer, I've been done it for a while, but for many, many years, I would call bankruptcy attorneys as prospective debtors. Like, I want to learn what people are saying. And guess what? Like, they're all selling the free consultation. That's it. Hard stop. Like, provide value. Do something different than your competition. And guess what? Free review of the credit report. Thank you very much. Product 4, post-discharge injunction violations. You're going to send to them emails and text messages about, by the way, are any of the debts that we got rid of in your bankruptcy, are they still trying to collect on you? Because you know collection companies do that. And we just add value.
Now, that was the second thing that I said I fixed. The first one was to backfill in, to keep in touch with clients, prospective clients and leads at all stages. The second thing we did is, and this may or may not be available to you, and there may be workarounds for this, is we just hired an attorney to do basically nothing but handle discharge violations. So I started another email, and this was not email, this is SMS messages, and I went back 6 years on my discharges and started writing to people. And the two things I asked them is, somebody trying to collect on a debt that you thought you got rid of in your bankruptcy case? Or have you heard from somebody on a debt you don't think you owe, because it could be like somebody who bought the debt, so it seems like it's a different thing. And I also write to them and I say, have you checked your credit report? Is there something on there that's showing you still owing on a debt you thought you got rid of in your case? So in my case, I've hired an attorney, we're doing that stuff and getting the stuff in the door. That may or may not be available depending upon how your firm is set up, in terms of can you handle that extra volume. But my feeling was that if I could, I needed to, because I don't want to put people through bankruptcy and have them not really get the full effect of the bankruptcy discharge because some creditor sneaks in behind and gets them to pay something.
Well, and even if you can't bring someone in on staff to do it, this is why we have our system set up. There are systems set up through software where we can run almost 200 law firms back end and funnel it where our attorneys want it, right? Here you go, email drip or the product 4, post-discharge injunction violation. You don't want to do that in-house? Fine, Schumacher Lane. And we just port it directly there to serve the client and hopefully generate fees, okay? The other thing I want to point out to past clients is product 5. For those of you, like John said, keeping in touch with past clients. These are emails that come from you, and at the very top of every email it says, feel free to forward this email to someone you know that is struggling with their debt. And let me tell you, I can guarantee the people are forwarding email because we use call route tracking, and it tracks, I know that people are calling the number on that forward. Topics include things you should do and should not do after bankruptcy, buying a home and car, credit rebuilding tips, protecting against illegal action by former creditors, dealing with new reality and new feelings, reflections, telling your story. How do you bring things up about bankruptcy, right? If you need to, like what do you, if someone asks you about it. Tips on how to use your bankruptcy as a springboard to success. We do it monthly forever, right? And then lastly, product 6 in the very back thing, you know, we're at the booth, we're with Ash Auto Group, and you'll see, this is a simple, like plug-and-play solution for people that need a car, right? And they specialize in cars, bankrupt cars after bankruptcy. They ship nationwide, and the best part about it, we had an ethics attorney look at this. This ethics attorney was in Minnesota. They do not pay per sale. They don't do that. But what they do is they track who introduces to potential clients. And Ash Auto Group, they have a set marketing budget they spend every month. Instead of spending it driving leads to them, they know the best leads come from consumer bankruptcy attorneys, so they buy bankruptcy advertising that we're running, like the example, the selfie, you know, this one over here, right, the Melody. They run that in your name, in your market. And it just...
So instead of paying you referral fees, okay, what they do is they keep track of how much work that you're sending them in terms of cars, and there's an awful lot of our clients that need cars at some point, and depending upon that, then they'll pay Phil to run more advertising in their area using the Facebook and other things.
Okay, we're going to go to the final segment, then we can open up for questions if we have time. There's none of our clients I know has dominated a market in Google like John. And I mean, to the point of, So I just type in bankruptcy attorney Greensboro, North Carolina. You can see my screen, right? Okay. And imagine someone coming here and looking at this.
This is super important.
524 for Orcutt, Duncan 46, Ivy McKellen 31. I don't know who those other firms are, but I don't know. I mean, they're not like, they're at the point of like resignation, right? I mean, anyone in your market, I mean, they're like, forget about it. We'll fight for second, right? I go to here, bankruptcy attorney Raleigh, 679, 3581. Okay, I mean, this is mission critical for building your brand, right? I mean, if you're in North Carolina, it's hard. I mean, it's clearly, but this is not normal.
Is there anybody in the room here who doesn't have any Google reviews? Any of you?
No,
Good.
Yeah.
Because it's really critical. I've got over 2,500 five-star Google reviews across my offices. What is that worth? What is that worth in terms of word of mouth? The Google reviews are the modern version of word of mouth, and that's how all of us are imprinted in our DNA to find other people to do stuff for you. Think about this. 600 Google reviews or none. Which one am I going to call? I'm going to call the guy that's got a lot of people saying something good about him, or I'm going to call the guy that doesn't have anybody saying something good about him. Oh, I'm going to call the guy that doesn't have anybody saying anything good. But it's all relative in between. Now, you have to work in your market, you have to work with the clients you have, but you ought to be getting Google reviews. And if you're not, I'm set up to do it more or less internally. I got a special little thing I work with my staff, right? Philip has come up with something to get them for you, and he'll let him tell you about that. That's what this product is.
So let me give you an example that we did with Lloyd Kohler in Southern Indiana. He has two offices, one in New Albany, one in Evansville. New Albany, I forget what he had hundreds in New Albany. Right. I mean, he's been doing bankruptcies for a long time, and he's a very successful bankruptcy attorney. New Albany, or Evansville, he had 6 3.7 star reviews. And I was like, okay, here's how we're gonna solve it, right? So the first thing is I asked him for his past client list. He gave us, I think, 1,800 past clients. We did 2 things, right? As you can see here, Kincaid, he was like, or no, Dax, it was Dax. He's like, I gotta be Dax, I'll be Dax. Well, I mean, it didn't take long to beat Dax, and now he's dominant in his marketplace in Evansville. And he said to me after this happened, he's like, boy, it's amazing. You know, I'm getting all these calls now from Evansville. I'm like, yeah, really? That's the way it works because people see it. Here's how we did it. We took the 1,800 past clients. The first thing we did is we went back to them and said, this is in the name of the attorney, Lloyd Kohler. I'm now offering this program, 7 Steps to 720 Credit Score, free to my clients. Since I didn't offer this to you, I'd like to give it to you free without condition. Reply if you want it. And all the emails don't go to you, they come to us. And we give them free email, we give them free enrollment without condition. And then we say, would you please give Lloyd Kohler a review? That's step number 1, right? Second thing we do is we go back to the 1,800. This isn't like back-to-back days. This is like the following month, 6 weeks later. Hey, we're now offering free reviews of the credit report. Would you like your credit report reviewed? Simply reply to this email. They reply. We do the steps to get them in front of Schumacher Lane, and then we say, would you please give Lloyd Kohler a review? It's very simple. You outsource everything to us. There's nothing for you to do. And we have a team of 6 or 7 people in the Philippines that are online 19 hours a day replying to text messages. They don't talk on the phone. All they do is work nonstop, and they have fantastic hearts, and they type perfect English. I want to make it clear, right? And all they do is they're asking for people to give reviews over and over and over and setting the appointments. That's how we set the 50,000.
And you've said how many, you've gotten how many reviews?
Oh, I mean, I haven't calculated it, but I mean, thousands and thousands, 3, 4, 5,000 reviews. I mean, we've done this many, many, many times, right?
What does a few more reviews do for your business? It's everything, folks.
Well,
It's your credibility out on Google. And that's where a lot of our work comes from, is on Google. Like it, don't like it. I want to be out there putting on as big a smile as I can And if I could take those stars and turn them up like this, I would.
And what we do, this is how I run it for ours. I run the same thing with mine. If someone clicks 5-star or 4-star, boom, it takes them straight to
What
Google.
if they give you a 1-star?
I'm going to show you right now. This is how I generated our 676 reviews, right? But if they give us a 1-star, it pops up, right? It's a pop-up. It doesn't mean they cannot give a 1-star review. They can, right? They have to click here, but
Just won't get
click here
posted.
and click here. But for most people, they're not savvy enough to understand, because we get notified when they hit a 1-star review and they put their information in. We get notified. The attorney gets notified. We get notified. Most of them just they think they're giving a review, and it just slows down the process so the attorney can clean it up, because we've all made mistakes. I've had 1-star reviews and I clean it up immediately, right? And it's how we clean it up that matters.
But also, that doesn't get posted.
No, this does not. No, yeah, this does not get posted. It does not.
In my case, I will get a 1-star review probably once every 3 months or so. And, you know, it used to be like, oh no, it's 1-star. We do pay attention to them. But what we've found out is that you can build more credibility off of a 1-star review than you can off of 500 5-star reviews. Because the 1-star review is one you need to respond to. You respond to it honorably. And what we do is we write it. We're talking as if we're talking to the client, but we're writing it knowing that the public is going to read it. So it gives us a chance to put in more or less our mission is to help. It's not to hurt. We hate that you were disappointed. If there's anything we can do, please call us and see if we can fix this. Those things have gotten us a lot of work in, because don't we all, when we look at a product out on Amazon or whatnot, go right to the 1-star reviews first?
Yep.
So make sure your response there is good and honorable, and you can turn those into pluses.
So we're up, our time's over. And I just want to say thank you for being here. There's a couple things I want to reiterate. 3 things about what we're doing. 1, we're here. Amy, can you raise your hand back in the green? This is Amy Tice. She works with me. She's going to be here all weekend along with me. If you have any questions about any of our products, we're here to serve you. Number 1. 2, we're going to have these mini marketing sessions. Come and join and talk to us.
They're on this card, they're on a billboard out there, like hitting on certain topics that maybe you're interested in, where we can go into things in a little bit more depth, and to answer any and all questions you have.
That's the 3rd point. Any questions about building a firm, there's no one better to talk to than this guy, and he's the most generous man you're going to meet. Me, with regard to marketing, you can take anything we have, use it, create yourself if you want. You'll find it easier to work just with us, but you're welcome to ask me anything. I'm not going to hold anything back, right? And then 4th, Shawn and John, future bankruptcy tigers, if you want to build your practice to over 100 filings a month. This guy's a machine. He'll cut your running term in half. But thank you for being here.